Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. My name is Scott Reisch. Thanks for watching. This is Crime Talk, the most unbiased, fact-driven true crime podcast and YouTube channel. First on the docket, a man in LA is arrested who the authorities believe are responsible for the ambush of two LA County deputies. Second, why was there a delay releasing the grand jury audio in the Breonna Taylor case? Third, a 36-year-old man living in his 15-year-old girlfriend's closet. I guess he thought the parents would never find out. A crime scene that shocked investigators, and our dumb criminal contestant of the day. Got milk? Let's talk about it. Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. My name is Scott Reisch. Thanks for watching. Now, we have a busy docket, but before we get started, please, if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell so that you receive notifications of when we go live or put up new content. It's been a long day, not gonna lie. Hit the road about 5:30 this morning, drive 3 hours for roughly about a 4-hour court appearance, and turn right back around and drive back another 3 hours. But we're here for you because, well, frankly, we like bringing you new information on a daily basis. Well, the police have arrested a man, and get this, he was already in custody for another crime. He was identified as the potential shooter relating to the Los Angeles County deputies who were literally ambushed just a few weeks ago. Well, the lucky contestant for that identification was a gentleman by the name of Deonte Murray. He's 36, lives in Compton, and he was already in custody when police identified him as the suspect of the deputy's shooting. As you may recall, the September 12th ambush of the two deputies, they were literally sitting in their car outside the Martin Luther King Jr. Transit Center. It resulted in a massive manhunt as literally the alleged shooter walked up and at point blank shot both officers. Mr. Murray appeared before a judge, and the bail was set at $6.155 million. Don't think Mr. Murray will be going anywhere anytime soon. He's expected back in court on November 17th, and if he is convicted of all the crimes charged, he faces a maximum sentence of life in prison. His attorney had no comment on the attempted murder charges, but he did say that he is concerned about his client's safety. According to his attorney, Mr. Murray says that he's being denied food and deputies are threatening him with harm. Can you imagine such a thing, Mr. Murray? Apparently, he also complains that he's being harassed night and day. It's like you're being housed by the victim's family, according to his attorney. The court did deny Mr. Murray being moved to a different location, a different detention facility, and I'm sure the deputies will do whatever they can to legally make things as completely uncomfortable for Mr. Murray as possible. Now, the other crime that Mr. Murray was already in custody for is that he allegedly shot an owner of a Mercedes-Benz in the leg with a high-powered rifle before stealing his car. Police were able to identify Mr. Murray as the carjacking suspect and arrested him on September 15th. Obviously, the police didn't know that he was the same suspect in the officer ambush case. Now, before Mr. Murray was arrested on the hijacking case, he was being pursued by officers, and he allegedly chucked the firearm from the car, which was recovered by the police officers. The firearm is what they call a ghost gun, and that's a term generally used for guns assembled from parts, making them extremely difficult to trace. Generally, criminals who have firearms that shouldn't possess them don't want to be in possession of a hot firearm. A hot firearm is one that is, well, previously been used in a shooting, which can be traced through various databases to determine if the same bullets that were recovered from one shooting or scene were the same or come from the gun that was ultimately recovered. So people mix and match the pieces, hoping that it hinders the police in trying to locate who is responsible for that particular firearm. Of course, it goes to the bigger question is if you're a prohibited person, you probably shouldn't have firearms in the first place. But apparently, newsflash, apparently criminals that have guns are not concerned about laws prohibiting them possessing firearms. Just saying, think about it. Well, obviously what happens with Mr. Murray, my guess is when he shows up for court, he may appear very tired and maybe a few pounds lighter. We'll wait and see. Next on the docket, the Attorney General in the Breonna Taylor case has asked for an extension of time so that he can correctly and properly make all the necessary redactions from the grand jury audio, which he was ordered to release to the public by the court. Now, I can tell you, when you have to redact something and make sure you get it absolutely correct, it is difficult. It takes time. Given the fact that the court ordered this be done on Monday and for them to release the tape on Wednesday at noon, they would have literally had been working around the clock. Now, they should have been working around the clock to get it done. However, the court did grant an extension for 48 hours so that the tapes can be redacted and edited properly to comply with the court's order. For those who don't recall, this grand jury tape is being released based upon the request of a grand juror who basically says he wants to make sure that the evidence is presented to the people. Now, I have never seen this done before, but apparently there is a provision in the Kentucky law that allows for this to take place. Unbelievable to me that it's happening, but I'm a firm believer that in a case like this, particularly where charges aren't filed, the public has a right to know what happened so that we all can make a determination and see if the process was fair or whether it was biased. Obviously, we won't have these up for a couple of days, but let me know what you think. Do you think that we're going to see that the grand jury process was completely rigged, or do you think it was a fair process? Remember, the grand jury process is there not to be fair, particularly to a defendant. It's there to simply establish probable cause in the case. So let me know what you think. Next on the docket, this goes in the you can't make this stuff up category. All right, a Louisiana man is now behind bars after police say that he lived in a girl's closet for more than a month before being caught. That's right, the parents of a 15-year-old girl allegedly discovered 36-year-old Jonathan Rossmone in their home after hearing noises coming from their daughter's closet. Now, the pair knew each other, according to the police. Apparently, they met on some virtual reality social platform a few years back. So that would still make Mr. Rossmone in his 30s, and that would make her like 13. Well, at the time the girl reportedly told the suspect she was 18. When he met her in person, she ultimately confessed as to her real age, but that did not deter the relationship because who can stop love? Well, I can think of lots of people. Parents, the police, law, people with shotguns. Those are the people that can prevent love from taking place, particularly between a 36-year-old man and a 15-year-old girl. So the police reports go on that say that on several occasions, the suspect would drive up from Louisiana to Spring Hill, Florida, where he would meet the girl and have sex with her. The pair, apparently because they are some really smart individuals, concocted a plan so that he, Mr. Rossmone, could stay in Florida instead of making the trip back. Thinking all the time. That's where they came up with the idea he could just stay in the room if he hid in the closet whenever the parents came in. How ingenious. Now, during the most recent trip Mr. Rossmone made to the girl's house around 5 weeks ago, and he apparently was having sex with her on numerous occasions, the police said that the teen called the suspect her boyfriend. And Mr. Rossmone, being a real smart guy, because he wants to live in 15-year-olds' closets so that the parents won't see him, also admitted when talking to the police that he did in fact have sex with the young woman several times in his van, which was parked near the home as well. Now, According to court records, Mr. Rasmone was arrested and charged with 4 counts of lewd and lascivious behavior and 1 count of traveling to meet a minor for sex purposes. He remains in custody on a $250,000 bond. I bet that closet looks pretty good right now compared to the cell that Mr. Rasmone is in at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, I do not know of any more examples that we can possibly come up with. But if you have ever thought that you would like to know more information about somebody, maybe your children's friends, maybe your children's friends' parents, anyone that you're going to have interaction with, anyone your children are going to have interaction with, why would you not want to have a background search done on those particular individuals? It's almost negligent not to do so. So go to crimetalksearch.com, sign up for a background subscription service. You can search anonymously anyone you want. Make sure there's no Mr. Rasmones living in someone's closet. Find out if Mr. Rasmone has a prior history. Find out people's correct ages. Those are the kinds of things you're going to find out in that criminal background search, along with cell phones, emails, and social media accounts that are associated with the person you are searching. You're going to get that criminal background check, which is going to include convictions for misdemeanors, felonies, sex offender registrations. You're going to get property records, bankruptcies. You're going to get information that you need to know, marital records, divorce records, things you need to know. Please go to crimetalksearch.com, sign up today. You'll be glad that you did. Take a look at this guy, Mr. Joel Guy. He was able to produce a crime scene that even shocked seasoned crime scene investigators. Well, Mr. Guy appeared in Knoxville, Tennessee courtroom this week as it related to his murder trial of his parents. Throughout the gruesome introduction by the district attorneys, one investigator called it the most horrific thing he had ever encountered in his law enforcement. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. Think of all the crime scenes that these people go to on a daily basis. The death, the destruction, the despair, the ODs, you name it, right? And they're saying this was the worst. It's alleged that Mr. Guy wrote out handwritten plans on how he wanted to stab the victims to death in order to inherit their assets. The prosecutor laid out that the victims were getting ready to stop financially supporting Guy, who was 28 at the time. Can you imagine that? Parents cutting somebody off at 28? Yeah. He apparently was quite convinced that the $500,000 that he believed his parents had would be his, all his. And then the detectives arrived at the couple's home for a welfare check, and they encountered a grotesque scene. On the stove, they found Lisa Guy, Mr. Guy's mother, found her head boiling in a pot. Authorities say that Joel Guy Sr. was attacked first while Lisa was shopping at the local Walmart. The attack took place in an exercise room in the home where the detective found severed heads. They found 2 tubs with body parts floating inside, according to the officers. Detectives testified when they turned up at the home, the heat was extremely high and the interior had a very strong odor of chemical smells. Sound familiar to any cases we've been talking about lately? The experts testified that Mr. Guy brought industrial strength chemicals thinking that he could dissolve his parents. Guess he's been watching a little too much TV. Now, the suspect's parents thought that their son was coming for a Thanksgiving visit before moving to his own home in a different county. Apparently, the parents were quite the doting parents on their son, and in turn, he stabbed them 31 times. Good rule of thumb, if you've got a 28-year-old living in your basement that cannot provide for himself, be afraid. I think that's the moral of the story here, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get to our dumb criminal contestant of the day, let's quickly talk about going to a different website, Crime Talk BSA, Boy Scouts of America. Why? The Boy Scouts of America organization has filed for bankruptcy protection. They had to file for bankruptcy protection because they had so many cases related to their scout leaders doing inappropriate things. And the scouts have set up a fund of over $1 billion to pay claims of people that have been harmed by anyone associated with the Boy Scouts of America. Now, you have to make this claim before November 16th, otherwise you'll be forever barred. But If you have been injured or harmed by anyone associated with the Boy Scouts of America, you can make this claim even if you've never reported it to anyone else. So if there were incidents of verbal abuse, inappropriate touching, derogatory sexual or racial comments, unnecessary photography, or any sort of physical threats in any way. If that's the case, go to Crime Talk, search BSA.com and submit a claim. It's the right thing to do if you have been injured by the Boy Scouts of America. Next on the docket, our dumb criminal contestant of the day. Yes, that's right. Got milk? Yes, our dumb criminal contestant of the day. Let's take a look at this fine, upstanding citizen. So the police responded to a disturbance, and they arrested an individual by the name of Justin Garcia for aggravated battery, a felony, ladies and gentlemen. Now, he posted his bond of $25,000, but guess what he got in a fight with? One of the great philosophical debates of the universe, and he thought it had to be resolved. That's right. What is that debate? Which is better milk? Almond milk or whole milk? That's right. Now, this dispute became physical when Garcia became enraged that the victim disagreed with him. According to court records, who did not name the man, nor did they say which product of milk he was actually advocating for. But what we do know is Garcia punched his cousin in the forehead, prompting the victim to strike Garcia in the shoulder. Garcia then allegedly pulled out a pocket knife with a 3-inch blade and began chasing his cousin through the front yard of the residence. When Garcia caught up to his cousin, he slashed his kin on the left side of his torso, causing a small laceration. At this point, the victim's uncle interceded, holding back Garcia and separating the cousins until the police arrived. Uncle told the cops that he was working on a car in the driveway when he heard Garcia and the victim arguing over almond milk. After being advised of his Miranda rights, because he was in custody, they have to do that. That's right. Mr. Garcia claimed that the victim came at him with a stick, prompting him to punch the cousin in self-defense. The victim, Garcia said, thinks he's better than the whole family. They found the knife, and Mr. Garcia was obviously taken into custody and also noted that he was released on bond. His charges for the great debate of which milk is better now has an aggravated assault on his record to go along with his previous convictions for drunk driving, carrying a concealed weapon, and a sundry of probation violations. Ladies and gentlemen, if today doesn't make you think that life can be stranger than fiction, I don't know what else to bring you. People arguing, stabbing other people over almond milk or whole milk. I get it. It's a question that must be answered. But can we do it in a non-violent way? We've got grown pedophile men living in a girl's closet because they thought that would be a good idea. They were thinking with something, but it wasn't their brains, that's for sure. All right. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed today's program. Seemed like I was a little giddy. Must have been that drive. Must have been the drive. Anyway, have a wonderful night. We'll see you tomorrow on Crime Talk.